Hi there. I just thought I'd sum up on my findings with the ATS25 Max Decoder 2 that we've got here. Hopefully you'll have seen my videos on it, tuning around the bands with it, decoding FT8, a little bit of CW, and just some general listening. It's quite an interesting radio. It's rather unlike, although it looks very similar to the original ATS25, of course, it's rather unlike any of the other ATS25s and 20s in terms of the market, I guess, that it's aiming at. I thought it might be useful to look at the original advertisement again, and we'll just go through some of the claims. If you remember, this particular ad that I saw on AliExpress was comparing the ATS25 Max Decoder with the version 2 model that I have here. It had some interesting points on it. It made quite a lot about the 50 ohm mode, the low noise amplifier, the LNA function, and the high Z mode. I'm going to kind of group those together because those three things are just settings. It's another setting you can play with on this radio, but in reality, the LNA, the amp, doesn't make a lot of difference. You probably find yourself either leaving it, depending on what bands you're on and what antenna you're using. You probably either leave the amp in all the time or just switch it out. The 50 ohm and high impedance mode, high Z mode, you're going to need to play around a little bit with this radio with those modes. I found that the most difference that was obvious was when I was using the radio with a telescopic whip. And it was actually quite sensitive to which way, depending on what band you were on. It could make quite a difference either switching in the high impedance or the 50 ohm setting. So that's those settings, but like I say, in reality, they're nothing to get too excited about. It's just another couple of settings you can play around with. There was mention of the 4,000 milliamp hour battery capacity. Now, I think I said early on with these, the one thing I always found with these ATS radios is the battery life was very good. So why did it need a larger capacity battery? Well, I've done some tests with this when it's been running decode on FT8. And when it's running in the decode mode, I found that the battery in this radio, there's nothing really wrong with it, don't get me wrong, but it discharged more quickly than what I was used to with the previous ATS radios. Particularly, I had the identical but non-decoder, the original ATS25 here, and this seemed to last for ages and ages before you had to recharge it. This one, running it on FT8 decode I just set it up on the telescope whip incidentally and let it run. I got about 8 hours of decoding out of it, which I think is pretty good, particularly because you have to have the audio turned up to decode signals successfully. Okay, so that does use a bit of extra battery capacity because you're driving the audio amp and the speaker and all that for it to decode. So 8 hours decoding. I suspect if you were just using it for general shortwave listening, you'd probably get another 2 or 3 hours out of it, perhaps. So I think the decoder board, the functions, the little processor, that is going to cause some battery drain. So not bad, but be prepared for, while the other ATS radios seem to have, almost an infinite battery life, this does not. About 8 hours decoding. That's not a criticism, it's just the way it is. I don't think that's actually a bad performance, to be fair. The other thing you'll see on the ad there, built-in bandpass filtering circuit. So I thought, great, we're not going to have overload problems and the kind of things that were there in the first ATS25, which I've still got, still works. This one, well, I didn't notice any difference. I got to be honest. Okay, the RF side, the receive side of this, I think is identical to the original ATS25. It's not bad. With the software that's on or the firmware, whatever you want to call it, that's on these radios now, the the soft muting, the chuffing with the tuning, it's been reduced to a minimum. So even on SSB, it's not too bad to tune. It's not too bad to tune on SSB. It hasn't got that annoying muting all the time. But in terms of bandpass filtering, this overloads, it performs pretty badly on medium wave and long wave. You're going to need to attenuate it if you've got any kind of external antenna with any kind of gain on it. It will overload on medium wave. You'll get a lot of cross modulation and breakthrough medium wave and long wave. Probably find yourself using the attenuator, or more likely with these radios, the AGC setting, which isn't really an AGC at all. It's an attenuator. The shortwave bands, probably from like 3 megs up, it's not bad. It's not bad. But again, it's no better or no worse than the original ATS25 in terms of its received performance, right? But of course, why a lot of people would buy this, I guess, is the data decoding facility. And it works very well as a standalone FT8, FT4 decoder. Okay, you can set it up. You can run it on the telescopic. It's relatively sensitive. The screen noise on this one isn't too bad. On the lower bands, again, going back to medium wave and long wave, where you'd want an external antenna anyway, if you try and use the telescopic on the lower bands, you do hear the screen noise. You do hear the screen. With the external antenna, it's not a problem. So be aware of that. That hasn't been eliminated entirely. There's still a fair bit of screen noise. But for its data decoding capabilities, it's very good. It really does FT4, FT8 well. I haven't had a chance to come across any RTTY signals to try the RTTY side, because you'd probably be aware if you listen a lot to the HF bands. There is RTTY around, but there's not as much as there used to be. By far the most popular data mode is obviously FT8. Another interesting thing I pointed out in one of my videos, there is, when you go into the Digimode decode menu on this radio, there is a button for SSTV. It's grayed out at the moment, so I don't know whether that's the software firmware authors have some idea of putting in a capability for slow scan TV. That would be really good. It's not there at the moment, but maybe for the future we'll see it. CW decoding, again, that works well enough. Like any CW decoder, if you've got hand sent Morse, you're likely to get a lot of errors because we're all human and everyone sends CW differently. Machine Morse, it'll read very well, but that works. You've got the facility, as well as I showed you in an earlier video, of outputting the decodes from the screen of this radio onto a tablet or a PC, so you can see the FT8, FT4 decodes coming up on a bigger screen. You've got the USB-C connector on the back, and by connecting that to a COM port on your PC or tablet or whatever, you can display that. Again, if you're looking at using the telescopic, when you connect anything into this rear USB-C, it does generate a bit of interference. You've got an external antenna in the back, doesn't make a lot of that eliminates the interference, so the connected in the COM port doesn't make a lot of difference. But with a telescopic, it does generate noise. I know with this and other radios that have USB charging, people say, can you run the radio with the charger plugged in and charge it as you use it? Well, yes, you can. Okay, you can do that. And the radio, it's in use, it'll show us charging on the display. I'll just turn this on actually, so we can see the battery display and so on. Just let it boot up. Again, you get a few pops and clicks and whatever when turn the volume down. You can see one of the displays, you've got a little battery display there, shows a percentage of charge remaining. Okay, if you plug that in, into your USB, you get the little charging symbol. So it's charging, you use it. Like I say, fine if you've got an external antenna, got a telescopic, and it's going to be noisy. All right, so that's just the way it is. Overall, I think I paid just under 80 UK, I think it was 76 or so UK pounds. I have to remind myself for this. I still think these are overpriced for what they are, okay? Because performance-wise, something like this, in my opinion, Texan PL330, heck of a lot cheaper, better radio, better receiver. But, okay, I've got to give this its due, you know, because of the decoding capabilities. It's in a different market, really, isn't it? So as a standalone FT8 decoder, it's a very useful little piece of kit. I was wondering whether the Wi-Fi facility that's built into it would cause interference. It doesn't seem to. Don't seem to have had any problems with that. So that's a good thing. I haven't, and I will address this do a couple more videos on this. You'll probably see it in operation in the shack. I haven't really looked at the Bluetooth. I'm guessing the only advantage of the Bluetooth is going to be to use a set of Bluetooth headphones. I've got a couple of Bluetooth headphones here knocking around, so we'll try that, see how it works. I haven't used Bluetooth. But aside from that, everything, you know, that it's supposed to do, it does. As a portable receiver, yeah, I suppose in the field, if you want the FT8, FT4 decode, it's quite good. But bear in mind, to do the FT8, you're going to need Wi-Fi so that the radio can sync the time. Otherwise, you won't get reliable FT8 decodes. So you'd have to, if you're out in the field, so to speak, you'd probably have to hotspot to your phone or something like that, so you could get the radio synced up. Other than that, it should work fine. If you're, as an all-round portable, you know, it's not really so good, because something to remember here, if you want to listen to medium wave, whilst you can use the telescopic, and this is no different from the original ATS25, by the way, or the ATS20 for that matter. If you want to use the telescopic, you'll only pick up the strongest stations on medium wave. There's no internal ferrite rod in these radios. So you're going to have to use an external wire or a loop like the AN200 loop I've got here. I've seen in some of my videos. That would work well with this. But you're going to need an additional antenna, where if you've got something like the 330, you know, you've got everything there. You've got the built-in ferrite rod. So as the radios are, as they are standard, in other words, this on its whip, this is going to way outperform it on medium wave, okay? So in order to address that, you're going to have an external antenna plugged into this for medium wave, long wave, if you're interested. And even then, like I said, it's those lower bands, I think, where the performance is rather lacking, okay? But that said, it's one of the better ATS radios that I've owned so far. I can see me using most of them. I used for a while, and they've been put away in a box under the bench down there. This one I can see might be out and might be used a bit more because of the FT8 side of it, the decode side, CW, FT8, FT4, whatever. We'll try it on some RTTY as well. Band 2 FM, broadcast FM, by the way, this radio has it. You don't have to switch it at the rear like you did with this one. The original ATS25, you can see it there. You've got a switch for AM and FM. Haven't got one here because that is switched from the front panel, which is quite good. If only they put the power on off on the front panel and a headphone socket, it'd be really good, wouldn't it? But they didn't do that. But it has got FM. It's not particularly sensitive on band 2 FM against, for instance, my Kudosin DX286. There's no comparison. The DX286 is way, way better. But it does function on band 2 FM. It's got RDS. Again, the decode is a bit flaky, but it works on the stronger stations. I would think most people are not buying this radio for FM listening anyway. So if you want something that will decode FT8 without a computer, just bear in mind you will need a Wi-Fi source to sync the radio up. This isn't bad. Well, you know, there's nothing like it as far as I'm aware on the market that will just do that standalone decoding like that. So yeah, I could recommend it for that. As an all-round shortwave receiver, they're a better, but this is okay. if you were given this to start out in shortwave listening, I don't think it would put you off. It decodes single sideband adequately, AM. Yeah, the tuning isn't too bad now with the soft muting. So overall, not too bad. A little bit overpriced, but hopefully you've noticed I've not been quite as critical as of this radio as some of the other ATS radios I've had. It's definitely got quite a lot of potential. It'll be interesting to see if there's any further firmware updates for it that bring any extra modes in. It's always possible that could happen. Firmware updates, by the way, with this Wi-Fi enabled model are very easy. It will automatically search and update the firmware, just really just like your Windows computer or your phone would when there's an update available. So that's quite good. It's quite seamless. I like that. So that's my view of this particular radio. This is the ATX25 Max Decoder 2. I hope you enjoyed the videos. If you've got any comments, if you've got one of these, or maybe you've got the previous Max Decoder 1 version, let me know. Let me know what you think. If you think they're the best things since sliced bread, let me know. I don't, but I actually think this one's not bad. But there's many better standard shortwave receivers out there. It's just my point. Okay, but very interested to hear your views as always. If you enjoyed the videos and you enjoy this ATS stuff, you'll have seen I've got a number of these, and every so often I'll get them out and use them. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel because it helps. You know, we've channel's definitely grown in the last couple of years, and it's good to see that people are enjoying the videos, or even if they're not enjoying the videos, they're communicating and giving me their point of view, which is great because I love a discussion. I love other people's views on these things, particularly these ATS25 radios, because they are, you know, people tend to be, you know, all for them or all against them. So it'd be interesting to hear those views. Thanks again for watching. Catch you again soon. Thank you.